Hello and welcome to this complimentary webinar. My name is Lennart Eriksson and I will be the, you can say, organizer and moderator for this presentation. The title of today's presentation is Discovering the Geometric Suite of Data Analytics Solutions, Part 11, which is the last part, with the subtitle Interactive Performance Insight, Web-Based Production Overview. Today's presenter is my colleague Jonas Elving, who is the product manager for our online real-time inspired software solutions, which include Simca Online, Control Advisor and ActiveDashboard, the last of which is what we are targeting today. So Jonas, please take on, the word is yours.
Thank you, Lennart. So welcome to this seminar, which will introduce to you the ActiveDashboard, which has been released a couple of days ago. So the series that have gone now for, this is the 11th webinar, has handled MODI for design of experiments, EASE Analytics for simple statistics, and Simca for advanced analytics, Simca Online for applying advanced analytics in close to real time, Control Advisor, which handles prescriptive and analytics. And lastly now we are looking into ActiveDashboard, interactive performance insight for typically aimed at managers. So to be able to explain what ActiveDashboard does, I will start from the beginning to show the value with multivariate within an automated environment. So all in manufacturing industries work under a strict set of rules. I mean, it could be so that the pH or it could be so that a level or a temperature needs to be set, but it also the rules are also applied to with a correlation pattern in between each other, meaning that even though if the level is high in somewhere, or if the flow is high in a tube and a motor is running at a low frequency, or it should be closed, then the system should detect that. That's a very simple correlation. But when you have hundreds of variables, there still are correlation patterns that you need to take into consideration to know if the system is behaving as it should or not. And to meet those rules, of course, some control are applied. And there are different types of control, of course. It's monitoring, just looking at it to see that the process behaves as it should. So if you look at the raw material should be within a certain characterization, so you know that it is good enough to create a good output, because the raw material, of course, affects the quality in very largely. Then we have, of course, we can monitor the actual process to see that all of the variables and the correlation patterns are behaving as they should during the process. And afterwards, we can also, of course, monitor the final quality, see that it behaves as it should. So this is typically monitoring. But we can also do another type of control, which is you can control your vendors. You can see which raw materials that are similar and which are not, so that you can select the right type of raw material combination to create a good quality outcome. And then, of course, you can also adjust your process so that you can take the raw material variation into consideration to produce a good quality output, or the right quality output, and at a low cost and with high yield and so forth. So these are the typical types of control that we have. But if you look at it a little bit closer, you can see that there is something else that is interesting. It's how the raw material has been processed, and that's what we call processing. So the processing performance of your manufacturing is what is interesting, because that is what deducts the final quality outcome. All right. So if you look at this from a user perspective, then looking at data with our Simca Online tool, which can do this processing analytics. Then you have your operator tool and our operator and his team, which can monitor the process or the batches when they come through in different shifts usually. And they do that typically in real time, looking at and taking decisions in real time to make sure that the production is behaving as it should and the quality is what it should be, and you have high yield and low cost and so forth. And then typically afterwards there is an engineer or similar that takes all of this data and look more from a batch to batch kind of a way to see what batches are similar, what are not, and what's the difference between the batches. Are the quality okay for these batches or not, and so forth. And that's kind of post-production, close to post-production analytics or analysis. But these engineers or PT people, or what you want to call them, they typically monitor more than one process because you have more than one product line typically in manufacturing. So you have, in this example, 2 other product lines that produce other stuff, and the engineer also needs to look at them. But right about this time, it's starting to get a lot of data here, and we need a way to summarize it, to be able to get an overview of all of this information in such a good way that you can still make decisions in a higher level. Because all of these people is in one factory, but usually the US organization have factories all over the place. For instance, in let's see, that should be Basel. No, that's Boston, Basel, Singapore, and maybe Sydney, right? So you need some way to have an overview of this, so that the manager here knows what's going on without needing to call up and ask for information. So it's better to just look at it directly in his own tablet or smartphone. So that's where ActiveDashboard comes in, where you can get your processing performance, so you know what the performance are in each site or in each machine or in each continent. I will show you what I mean with that later. Or it's just that you want to know the product performance. You will want to have a summary over your quality of all of your data. So what is the quality in Asia? What is the quality in Europe? I mean, it's a lot easier to say what the quality is on one batch, but to summarize that over a region or to aggregate it over a region, that's where ActiveDashboard comes in and can do that for you. So what was the quality over, let's say, last month in US? That's a typical question that you can get answered with this tool. And lastly, there are different data measures inside of ActiveDashboard, and the last one, there's a lot of processing metadata, which means we have metadata about location, which product it is. Good. So how does ActiveDashboard, how is it built? What is it? Well, it takes data, information from Simca Online or one or several Simca Online systems or from OSI SoftPy. And through a web API, it reads in data into a web server. And the web server then produces the output that you will see later inside of the demonstration. The final result is displayed in a web browser. So you can use any modern web browsers such as Firefox, Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Edge. And by doing that, you can get to these values. So one company's self-service monitoring tool, self-service means that you don't need an expert to set this up. You can do this yourself. You can create your own views. And it summarizes the production both over location and products and time. It has product process and processing performance. and it shows you the results in the web client interface with interactive filters, meaning that when you click at something, it will directly adjust all of the other charts to what you are interested in. Authentication is through Active Directory, meaning that the Active Directory within your company is used. So you log in as your normal, with your normal authentication passwords. Right, so how does it look like? Well, I have a screenshot here I want to show you live later. So here you have an example, and it's built up with a left side pane where you have different dashboards. And note here that you have folders and a folder structure. And we can, again, as in Simc Online also, you can set rights on the folder, so not everyone in your organization will see all of the dashboards. You can limit it, so some people will see some of the dashboards and maybe some will see all. That's completely up to you. And then you have the top bar where you have some commands up to the right. So now I'm logged in as an administrator. Later, when I show you the demo, I will log in as an ordinary user, and you will see I will have less buttons and icons to click them, of course. You have the possibility here, you see the charts area, so you have different widgets, they are called. Each chart is in a different widget. And you can have you can size the widgets yourself inside of the configuration however you want it to. Here you can see that we are looking at 2.2 million batches produced. You can see that we're looking right now over 3 different locations, 2 in Scandinavia and 1 in Basel. And you can see how many that had good quality and how many that was rejected due to bad quality. You can see that we have 2 products and we produce about or actually 3, and 2 of them produce about the same amount. And then you can also see how many batches that was produced over a week in just one chart. So if you want to have this information, but you just want to see Umeå, for instance, or Basel, let's say Basel, then you simply in the chart or in the map, you click at Basel and all of the other charts will update accordingly. I will show this soon. First of all, I just want to guide you and direct you to our demo site, which is demo.geometrix.com. You log in as test, user test and password test. And that is exactly what I will do right now. So here is my browser. Hello, browser. And the username test, and I will go with the password tests. Test. Note here the site here, demo.geometrix.com. Log in. So this is just demonstrational data, so there's a slightly less data here. You can see that we have about 170 batches in this data sets, rather small. So I said, what if you want to just see information about Basel? Let's look at what we have here first. First, we have critical, no alarm warning. So this is the alarm levels inside from Simc Online. This is built on Simc Online, not on Pi, in this example. You have produced batches per site. So Basel is the most productive one. You have a number of batches per product. So we have 3 products, chemical, fermentation process, and unknown, which means that it isn't set within Simc Online which product it is. And we can also see the amount of produced batches over time, and right now it's monthly. We can see the quality, the product capability, that's the quality. And you can also see how many batches that has been produced per asset. So we have a chemical industry in Basel and chemical in Boston, a fermentation in Basel, a fermentation in Singapore, and a fermentation in Umeå. So we have 2 different lines in Basel and 1 in Boston, 1 in Singapore, and 1 in Umeå. All right, of course you can scroll and zoom inside of this one. So let's look at Basel. We said Basel. Right. Now you see that all of the other charts adapt accordingly. So now you will only see the Basel here because we don't have the other towns. We will see these have also changed. So we produced 70 batches in Basel. 7 was critical, 53 was okay, and 10 had warnings. You can see that we have these two processes that we saw earlier, and you can see how many batches that has been produced over time. And here you can see the quality of it. Now, of course, we can reset this, or actually I drill down, sorry, I will reset it. Right, but I can also select 2 cities. So let's say I want to see Basel and Boston at the same time. Then I just select those 2. You reset it with the minus sign like that. Another question that typically can come up is, okay, I want to see all my critical alarms to see where they are located. You can see there's none in Umeå because Umeå has good production, obviously. And you can see that Boston, Basel, and Singapore is represented. And you can see that the problem is typically in yield. You can see that in product capability. And you can also see which asset here that is most failing, and it's the fermenter in Singapore, unfortunately. So let's look at Singapore. You can see here that the production went down here some months in April, May, and June. So this is a very quick way to get some information about a location and the fault that is there, which type it is, and all of the metadata. So it's kind of an interactive way to look at data. Let's look at something else. Just a little bit quickly before we end the demonstration. So the way it works is that it downloads all data locally to the client, and the reason for that is that it should be very, very quickly and responsive, no matter if you have 2 million batches or if you have 15 batches. So this was, okay, let's go with this one. So that is very important to remember, that we don't want to have a slow responsivity when working with the data. So here you say we have no map, but we have a batch by location, batch by product, batch by asset type, quality, and asset type. Asset and asset type. So these are called measures. Asset is a measure, and asset type is another measure. Product is one measure, and location is another measure. So this is how it's built up. And here you can see that I've used 5 widgets in this layout. Of course, I can expand the widgets as an administrator. Right now I'm logging as a user. Good. That was what I intended to show you in the demonstration. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to contact us, and we will of course help you with setting up your own test environment so that you can adjust and create your widgets and your reports yourself. So, concluding this seminar series, we have our 6 different softwares, or actually it's 5 different. Mode is Analytics, Simca, Simca Online, which includes Control Advisor, and ActiveDashboard. And they relate to each other from I think it's Forrester research that has said has coined these things. So what has happened? That we look at to see the descriptive analytics. So use data aggregation, data mining to provide insight into the past. What has happened? So that you can do investigations. That's descriptive analytics. And if we go to why did it happen, then it's more diagnostic analytics. So examine the data and content and doing drill down to see what was the underlying cause of a deviation or a process upset, or why things differ inside of the production. Then we have what could happen. So then it's more a predictive approach. We use statistical models and forecast techniques to understand the future, what will happen. So it's kind of a forecast which is included inside of SIMC Online and Control Advisor. And you can actually find the last two or the last seminar or webinar in this series handled or talked about the Control Advisor and SIMC Online. I recommend to see that if you're interested. And lastly is the prescriptive. So if we know and understand the future, then of course we can optimize it in some way. We can do changes now to improve the future in some way. And the last one is actually another one that exists, and it's called preemptive, which means that how should we avoid the problems in the future, not change them already now, but avoid them in the future. And then interactive performance insight, ActiveDashboard we talked about today, that's also a descriptive. We use historical data and we use all of these tools to give an overview over all of your production from an administrative point of view. And of course you can go down and drill down all the way down to SIMC Online and down to SIMC to see the models from ActiveDashboard if you have the tools. And with that, I say thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jonas, for this excellent presentation. There is a question here related to what you talked about today and connectivity to OSI Pi and SIMC Online. Can you elaborate on that or explain a bit more in a bit more detail, please?
Yes, definitely. So one of the news for the release of ActiveDashboard 2 is that you can connect directly to OSI Soft Pi. And we fully make use of the asset framework, which is a template-based approach to store data in the data historian or the data infrastructure system Pi. So for you that doesn't know Pi, it's a data infrastructure system, and it stores things, all of the data tags and the data information that you have within your organization. So if you have 1,000 pumps that are equal, then you create one asset, which is that pump. And then you can deploy that very easily down to each of these pumps when they are installed or inserted into the Pi system. And we fully make use of that. So in the configuration of ActiveDashboard, you just say which you say which element it is that you're looking for, or the template that you have used, and then it fishes out all the data from there. And it fishes out the location and all of these things so that you can get these values. But what it cannot do over OSI Soft Pi, of course, is get the quality measures and the processing measures, since these are, you need multivariate data analytics to get those, which exist in SIMC Online, but not necessarily in Pi. So that is more or less how it works. There are some cool things with Pi and that connection also, and that is that we aggregate data very, very hard, meaning that you can have several tens or hundreds of millions of data points, and we will aggregate it in time down to fewer points so that you can get a broader overview of all of your production, even though it's not a lot of data points. And then you can, as a user, if you find something interesting, you can drill down and improve the resolution in some parts of the data. Yeah.
And another question that we have here in the question tool is, you mentioned you needed a web interface to be able to work with this. Can you work with it on let's say a tablet?
Yes, of course. As I mentioned before, the complete tool is a web-based application, meaning that any browser from any modern browser will work with this, even though that we have seen that Firefox and Chrome is a little bit faster than the other ones, but all of them will work, and we use a state-of-the-art technology to create these dashboards. So you use your web browser within your iPhone or tablet or smartphone or Android or whatever you have, and it should work very well.
Last question here so far, that relates more to the size of the data. Do you have any recommendation or any sort of experience regarding maximum upper limit for the size of the data that you can process and visualize through this tool? Can you comment on that?
I can comment on that, and it's a very good question. So if you run with Pi, then you can have as large data set as you want to. We'll just aggregate it down to a smaller portion. When it comes to Simca Online, you can have slightly, there is a little bit of limitation there but I think it's a couple of 1,000 batches at least. I would say around 100,000 batches before you go over the limit, if I don't remember wrongly.
Okay. There are no more questions for the moment, so I guess people are happy with this crystal clear presentation. Do you have any additional things you would like to mention, Jonas, that you've come to think about while we've had this Q&A session?
No, I think that I conveyed everything, and if you're interested, of course, go into our demo site, demo.geometrics.com, and log in as test just to give it a try. You can, of course, also contact us here at Geometrics or Sartorius Tedim Data Analytics, and we will guide you and help you in any way we can to show you the full potential of this software.
I think that is a very good rounding off remark by you, Jonas. So thank you very much for this presentation, and also to all the watchers for your time and attention. Thank you very much, and goodbye.